Live, this is News Channel 8 Today on your side.
Live look here at Tropical Storm Nicole on Max Fender 8 radar. The storm made landfall on the East Coast as a Category 1 hurricane. Now the storm bringing some strong rain and some wind to our area.
We're taking a live look at an example of just how windy it is outside. Here's a look now at the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. That camera has been buffeted around, just shaking because of the strong wind gusts. We do know if winds reach 40 miles per hour, that bridge will shut down. We do have live team coverage to show you the conditions in your neighborhood.
Tropical Storm Nicole will likely hit our inland counties the hardest. Coming up this morning, I'll give you real-time updates of what's happening here in Polk County.
I'm Nicole Rogers in Pasco County. Residents prepare for heavy winds and a potential storm surge. Coming up, I'll show you the resources available to you to keep you and your family safe.
And a good Thursday morning to you. Thanks for joining us here on News Channel 8 Today. We have been keeping our eye on Nicole for days now as it's approached our state.
And now it is here, right? And the worst of that storm is almost here. Our Max Fender 8 team is covering everything you need to know about Tropical Storm Nicole. First, we're going to check in with Lee Spann with the latest. Good morning, Lee.
Good morning, guys. And again, Hurricane Nicole made landfall at 3 a.m. By the 4 a.m. update, it was already downgraded to a tropical storm. You can kind of see how the center of that circulation, the eye, went from being pretty clear to really messy, an indication that thankfully the system is weakening pretty quickly. Now, what we're going to feel throughout the day are bands of rain, those rain bands wrapping around the center of circulation. So you'll go from when it's kind of breezy and a light drizzle to like what we're seeing right now in Lakewood Ranch, these heavier bands that cycle through. And when one of those bands cycles through, like it's doing right now in Arcadia, the winds are stronger as well. So we're seeing some of that in eastern Hillsborough County. That's going to be moving toward Tampa. Same thing in Bradenton. It's going to be moving out into the Gulf of Mexico. We go up into Dade City. Now, just for the first time, we're seeing one of these rain bands up in Citrus and Hernando counties. We've had about a half an inch of rain. This is the Winters and Yonkers camera at Bayshore. It has been rocky. 67 degrees there. The official forecast now, again, moving pretty quickly, thank goodness, at 14 miles per hour, may clip northern Polk County. And then by 1 o'clock today, it's already out in the Gulf of Mexico, potentially making landfall again along the Big Bend of Florida. But we have today where the next couple of hours where we remain under that tropical storm warning. In fact, that's all of us in these orange shadings. Some places are going to feel high-end tropical storms, some low-end tropical storms. And that's where meteorologist Amanda Holly is going to detail that for us.
Yeah, I want to take a look at the current wind speeds that we're seeing across the area right now. So first, these are the sustained wind speeds. These are just an average of the strongest wind speeds that we've seen and some of the weaker wind speeds. And right now, an average of 25 mile per hour winds there in Tampa, 23 in Sarasota, 21 in St. Pete, 24 out in Sebring, a little stronger in Winter Haven at 33 miles per hour. But none of these sustained winds, the average here is at tropical storm strength. But the gusts certainly are. Those top end gusts are reaching that tropical storm strength really across the area now. We're looking at a 48 mile per hour gust there in Winter Haven. We've seen that in the 50s over the past hour or so as well. 39 mile per hour gust in St. Pete. That's tropical storm strength as well as downtown Tampa. 43 mile per hour there in Sarasota, 38 up in Brooksville. So certainly really gusty at times across the area. Some of the peak wind gusts that we could see, of course, the strongest have occurred on the East Coast. A 60 to 65 mile per hour gust is not out of the question for Polk County. It would be 1 or 2. And then those wind gusts will be a little bit weaker down in Sarasota County, a little bit farther away from the center of the storm. Let's look at the estimated rainfall totals. We're not expecting a significant amount of rain here. Area wide, maybe 2 to 4 inches with locally higher amounts, Lee. But it's really all going to fall within the next 10 hours or so.
Yeah, I mean, because the system is moving so quickly. I mean, look at the hourly rain chance. They got it about 100% through 11, but it's going to be much more intermittent as we head into the afternoon. And with Amanda talking about 3-4 inches of rainfall, remember that November, typically our driest month of the year. On average, we only get 1.4 inches of rain in the entire month of November. So the fact that we're talking about 2 to 4 inches of rain, we're almost doubling what we normally see in what is our driest month of the year because we normally don't see a hurricane in November, guys.
All right, thank you, Lee. Well, families in Polk County, they are concerned that lingering impacts from Hurricane Ian could create some much bigger issues during this storm.
And on your sides, Beth Rousseau is live in Bartow with their conditions about the storm. Beth, I know you're from the area. How are things looking?
So mild compared to other storms, but let me tell you, when that wind gust rolls right on through here, it'll get you. And if that doesn't, the heavy rain will. And again, this is just short periods. Now take a look. You can see not a ton of prep work has been done here in downtown Bartow. You don't have any sandbags out. The windows aren't boarded up, but that's not the case in other parts of the county. And I want to show you one of the main concerns that they're dealing with here. If we pull up some video, you can see that debris, piles of debris from Hurricane Ian are still lining the streets of some neighborhoods throughout areas of Polk County. Now, the concern there is that those are going to get picked up by the wind and they'll get tossed into houses and break windows. That is what the main concern is. We actually talked to leaders with emergency management. They tell us another concern is the power system. They say it's not hardened like it was prior to Hurricane Ian. They're still working to get that back to where it was. So we could see some power outages associated with this storm. Now, if you're one of the homeowners living in Peace River Mobile Home Park, they say they've been prepping all week because they saw flooding during Hurricane Ian, so they've been making sure their homes are going to be safe, and they say they're keeping a really close eye on those river levels.
Just to keep that water out from under our little house, that's a whole thing in a nutshell, you know. We just want to keep the water from under the house.
And there is plenty of rain that's coming down this morning. Again, it's in spurts, short periods, big wind gusts, heavy rainfall. But again, nothing compared to other storms that we've seen. However, we are going to keep an eye on it. I do want to mention schools here in Polk County are closed, and I just checked the power outage map, and so far we're not seeing any major outages in the area. We're live in Polk County. Beth Russo, 8 on your side.
Some good news there, Beth. Thank you. And after the storm passes through Polk County, the center of it is going to head northwest towards Hernando and Pasco counties.
News Channel 8's Nicole Rogers is live in Hudson Beach. Nicole, you're a tiny girl. You've been rocked around a little bit because of all the wind. We can just tell by your ponytail.
Wind is definitely the biggest concern this morning. I haven't really seen rain here in about 2 hours, since about 4:15-ish. But the wind, I'm like 100 pounds. I'm going back and forth trying not to fall this morning. But one of the biggest concerns is going to be the storm surge. As you can see, really, the tide here is not a major concern this morning. It's going to be more in the afternoon. But that wind is really what's going to get you in possible debris around here. As you can see right over there towards those palm trees, flying in the wind. Even that pole on the American flag continues to wave back and forth. Not just the flag, but the literal pole going back and forth. Now, the county is under a local state of emergency ahead of Tropical Storm Nicole. There is a potential for a storm surge, so residents have been picking up sandbags to protect their homes. Pasco County is offering 2 sandbag locations, one in Newport Richey on Massachusetts Avenue and the other on Public Works on Warder Road. Emergency Management Director Andrew Fossa says that we will soon be feeling those heavy rain bands with winds up to 50 miles per hour.
The main concern for us this time around is going to be winds and then the possibility of a surge.
The Mike Fasano shelter on Denson Avenue is now open to the general public as well as those with special needs. So anybody who needs it, that is open. Live in Pasco County, Nicole Rogers, 8 on your side.
Max Defender 8, the most advanced weather radar in Florida. Sponsored by Cool Today.
All right, we're taking a look, and you can see how the system has made landfall. Everything moves in this counterclockwise circulation, and the tropical storm force winds extend more than 400 miles. So that's why we're feeling some of those tropical storm wind gusts in these rain bands cycling through our communities. 27-mile-per-hour winds right now, 26 here. This is at the Veterans Ford camera. Of course, this is elevated a little bit. Thankfully, a lot of people are not going to work, not going to school, because it is slippery out there. I checked in with my weather watcher, Wendy, in Brooksville. She's at 66. So look at this. This yellow shaded area is the tropical storm force wind field, and it extends up to South Carolina on the northern side of this. So through about 8 a.m., most of us are in the tropical storm force winds. And as Amanda mentioned, that's 39 miles per hour or higher. This small area here is 60-mile-per-hour winds or higher. And that's when damage could occur a little more frequently. So that's what we're kind of keep an eye on. Notice that moves up towards Citrus and Hernando. This is lunchtime, my friends, and look at down in our southern spots. Already out of the potential tropical storm force winds, and by 7, just about everybody's out of the tropical storm force winds. But there's a 100% rain chance between now and about lunchtime, and we'll start tapering the rain chance down. 40% on Friday, so it is still going to be gusty on Friday, but there'll be plenty of breaks between the rain, and things are much quieter starting on Saturday. How's traffic on this wet road?
Yeah, so it's starting to pick up, and I just want to start off with a live look here at I-4 and US 301. Like I mentioned, a couple cars out there on the roads. You can see that the roadways are looking shiny and slick due to the rain. And here's a live look at I-75 and the Summit Expressway, or excuse me, this is the Sunshine Skyway Bridge, and you can see the camera kind of just shaking around due to the wind. Same deal here on I-275 and Roosevelt Boulevard. That camera's just shaking. Those southbound and those northbound lanes are also seeing some issues, but in Manatee County, there's no crashes being reported in that area, as well as in Sarasota County on I-75. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Brianda.
And a live look here outside of Flagler Beach. This is the Flagler Beach Pier. There's been some rough surf there all morning long.
I mean, even all throughout the night, waves have just been crashing against the shore because of Tropical Storm Nicole. We'll continue more coverage of the storm's impact right after the break.
Going to take a live look here at Tampa International Airport. Dozens of flights there either delayed or canceled right now because of Tropical Storm Nicole. The airport is open, though. Going to have a live update from Xavier Harris coming up here in about 15 minutes.
And Hillsborough County opened an emergency shelter. That shelter is at Irwin Technical College on Hillsborough Avenue in Tampa. It's for anyone who is concerned about staying in their homes and losing power. Now, pets will be accepted. Owners have to bring a carrier or a leash and proof of current rabies vaccination and pet supplies. Now 6:15, checking back in with Lee.
Yeah, we're showing you that wider picture of what is now Tropical Storm Nicole. And some of the heaviest rain, I really hate to say it, has kind of cycled through the Fort Myers area, certainly an area with a bunch of those blue tarps. So hopefully everyone's okay there. Interesting development. Just in the last hour or so, we've seen less and less rain on the eastern side of this, which would normally we would think would have more rain because it would be pulling up moisture out of the Atlantic. It's still pushing some very heavy rain and strong surf along Florida's east coast, but just a little surprised at how the rain has diminished on that eastern side. Now, to say that, some of the heavier rain now on our area, because that's where some of those rain bands are pushing through. Manatee County, Arcadia pushing south towards Sarasota. We've had some downpours off and on. You get those yellow shadings, heavy rain, followed by intermittent sort of light breezy conditions. But when you get one of these bands, not only is the rain heavier, we've heard this from our reporters who have to stand out in it, when the rain gets heavier, the winds also get stronger. We're seeing one of those bands push through Citrus, Hernando, and Pasco. Picked up more than a ½ inch of rain in downtown Tampa. This is the micro-lumen camera. It is gloomy, it is messy, it is windy. My weather watcher, Mike in Winter Haven's already picked up more than 1.5 inches of rain, and it's coming down hard on him. He's at 72 degrees. And so our wind speeds, as we've mentioned, remain at 25 to 30 miles per hour sustained, and then those tropical storm force wind gusts. So we're looking at the track, which is now thankfully moving very quickly. 14 miles per hour, which means that just in a few hours, it's going to pass through the northern portion of Polk County, so that by 2 o'clock, it's already passing through Citrus County today as it slowly becomes a weakened tropical storm at 50 miles per hour. There is a small chance it could go into the Gulf and then make another landfall along the Big Bend, or it may stay over land. So we'll be tracking that later today, and then we'll kind of be done with this system by Friday. But everyone across the state of Florida was certainly paying attention to the forecast track, and that includes us here at Max Defender 8, but also NASA, because Artemis is sitting out there.
It is sitting on the launch pad currently, and it's a very tall rocket, right? It extends really high in the atmosphere, and we know as you go higher up in the atmosphere, those wind speeds get stronger as well. It can only withstand so much wind standing out there in a hurricane. So there are several sensors on that launch pad where Artemis is sitting, and we get readings every 5 minutes from midnight. And basically every hour, we've seen those gusts into the 70s and into the 80s. Now, that safety limit is at 86, so we were very close to that at 420, but we had several reports of gusts at 86 miles per hour. And this particular sensor is actually at about 8 feet at the surface. So, you know, those wind speeds were much higher up in the atmosphere. So we did kind of hit that safety limit. Since then, those wind gusts have come back down into the 70s and into the 60s, and those winds are really weakening at this point. So we're going to have to watch and see what NASA does with this data as we go through the next couple of days. We do know that they have already pushed back that initial launch date. They were going to try Sunday night, night, Monday morning. Now they're going to try Tuesday night and into Wednesday morning, but that is all pending inspections of the actual rocket, and they will, of course, do that when it is safe to do so. So we're not expecting those kind of gusts here in the Tampa Bay area. As we go through the next few hours, we're talking about those gusts increasing between 40 and 50 miles per hour, top end wind gusts of 55 miles per hour or so. And you can see that here, kind of right along the coast, we'll have some of those stronger wind gusts by the middle of the morning. Then by the midday hours, those gusts are going to turn maybe the 30 to 40 mile per hour range. The system is going to continue to weaken as it lifts off to the north. That's when we could see a little bit of a push of that water on shore as well. And then later this afternoon, between 4, 5, and 6 o'clock, we're talking about those gusts between the 20 and 30 mile per hour range. So it is going to stay gusty kind of all day everywhere, Lee, even as the storm kind of lifts away and we dry out.
Yeah, we're going to see that rain chance go down, but not before we get 2 to 4 inches of rainfall today. So yes, today is a tropical storm. Now tomorrow, Nicole is to our north, but sort of those wrapping rain bands on the southern side of it will cycle through. So at times it could get kind of gusty with those downpours. It won't last very long. There'll be 20, 30-minute gusts that come, gusty showers that come through. Thankfully, then really into Friday, things get a lot more comfortable. There's about a 10% rain chance Saturday, mild and drier for Sunday and Monday. Now, heads up, I did have to back off on the real cool air we might have been expecting. They're going to see that across most of the country. But look here in Tampa, that blue color has kind of been taken away. So it's going to take us back to average, which is comfortable this time of the year, around 80. We were just kind of thinking we might bring in really cool air. So it's the tropical rains today. It's the gusty Veterans Day. And they're really relatively pleasant from Sunday all the way through Thursday of next week, guys.
We're going to take another live look here at the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. There are cars on the bridge there, but the winds are picking up. Remember, once they hit about 40 miles an hour or so there, they could shut the bridge down, so we'll keep you posted on that. News Channel 8 bringing you live coverage of Tropical Storm Nicole all throughout the morning.
In Polk County, debris pickup from Hurricane Ian is still underway. Officials say it's expected to get worse after Tropical Storm Nicole moves through the area. The first round of debris pickup from Ian is almost complete, but there are still piles to go. The next round will start up again around Thanksgiving.
Well, it does still remain unclear whether Democrats will maintain control of Congress after the midterms. Election results are still being finalized in some parts of the country. Then there was speculation about a red wave sweeping across the U.S., but that really didn't materialize during the midterms. President Biden vowing now to work with both parties regardless of the results. And despite Hurricane Nicole, St. Pete City Council still scheduled to hold their regular meeting at 3 o'clock today. Going to be voting on an ordinance that would require landlords to give more notice to tenants before raising their rent.
And the latest numbers from the Consumer Price Index came out today, or they come out today, I should say. Experts say the report is going to show inflation remains high. Now, if that happens, it will likely ruin hopes the Federal Reserve will ease up on continued interest rate hikes over the next several months. And we're continuing to take a look at Tropical Storm Nicole from our satellite. It's impacting the state of Florida with strong winds that are being felt right here in the Bay Area. Our coverage of this storm continues right after the break.